There was an idea, everyone knows this, called the Hamra Initiative. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people, see if they could turn the city into something more, see if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles others never could. Imagine empowerment, independence, and autonomy. That's what I imagine when I hear these words. These points essentially formed the mind map headlines on which the discussion guide was based on. But the truth is, my opinion doesn't even matter. That's why we had to go out and interview people who live in and interact with Hamra every day. So we stayed within the Hamra limits and went on a random but educated search, targeting people who were prone to have time to talk to us and had a connection with Hamra. So we met Sally the Canadian, Karim the journalist who was walking his dog, Angry Roger, who happened to know another person we met, Antoine Croissant, and finally, Uncle Ben. Antoine Croissant, evidently, sells croissant, but unlike the four others, Antoine loves Hamra. He owns a tiny kiosk that sells gum, snacks, and tasty-looking croissant in a byway to the Hamra main street. He was happy to live there and happy with his surroundings, but we felt he wanted to do more and is unsatisfied with his current business. So let's take a trip to the past. Antoine grew up in Hamra and he knows almost everyone. He went to school in Hamra and he even went to AUB. As a kid, he spent most of his time playing football in an open space, which is now occupied by buildings. He spent the remainder of his time going to music shops, and they were very special to him. He told us that music connects people. Unfortunately, these shops have closed down and are not in Hamra anymore. Antoine's responses showed us that he was happy, but also nostalgic. There was satisfaction in his life, but there was a desire for more involvement in the business world. It's almost as if he believed that the old Hamra businesses were better. He didn't really know what he wanted, and despite saying that he was happy, he would implicitly express a lack of satisfaction with the current stores in Hamra Street and their foreign management, often throwing shade at it or holding back on talking more about it. The contradiction between what he said and what he felt gave us a story that was worth pursuing. Antoine needed to have a bigger role in the business world of Hamra, and he might also be threatened by foreign shop owners and afraid that they may ruin Hamra's image. We wanted to solve that and to try to address his needs. So let's brainstorm together. How can we help Antoine Croissant feel that he has a bigger role in the business world of Hamra? How might we help him feel less threatened by non-Lebanese shop owners in Hamra's main street? There were so many suggested ideas, but the chosen solution was to advertise his business on a small airplane that pulls a banner across the sky. The idea and its subsequent iterations could capture people's attention. It was dynamic and fascinating. The child in me wanted it, and that's how I felt connected to the child in Antoine. So that was where it all began. Several rounds of iterations were required since the idea needed to be brought closer to the people and, most importantly, closer to Antoine. Every solution to a problem created another problem that we encountered, and on the way we had to pivot. A lot. We did that by adding new ideas and functions, removing some, modifying others, but the essence of it, which is advertisement, was maintained in every iteration. Advertisement in itself lacks any emotional connection to the user, so advertisement alone was not enough to say that a prototype could succeed. So the first prototype was a plane, or something like that. It pulled a banner, so it achieved advertisement. But that's not the final prototype we wanted to stop at. Since Hamra has very high buildings, people don't always look up, so we needed something more. So we added airborne leaflets released by the plane to advertise Antoine's business too. But that might have had a few drawbacks though, so you know where that ended up. The idea was thrown away, which is why we had to bring Antoine something practical but also magical in a way. Something that would encourage people to go to him. Something that would put smiles on their faces and in turn do the same for Antoine and evoke positive emotions. He might not be able to afford the Hamra street rent, and he wants to be around the people, not in some alley away from them. That's where the croissant cart comes into play. It provides a mobile attraction that would take advantage of people's curiosity. I mean, who doesn't want to buy croissant from a moving croissant cart? While everyone would probably want that, the goal was to develop something that would prioritize positive feedback from Antoine, not from his prospective customers. Therefore, the final addition was to feature something that would, in Antoine's eyes, make Hamra great again. How would he feel if the croissant cart played music too? Not the modern type of music, but the type that he likes, the type that means a lot to him, and that connects the people together. He might wake up excited and go to work because of that. It would definitely attract customers too. The music playing croissant cart would preserve the Hamra identity that he knows and loves, and that possibly many others know and love. Of course, we have to test the prototype, and it might not even achieve any of that. At first, my engineering mind was like, okay, let's send a survey. But my design thinking mind was like, but there were two quick and creative ways that we could test. We could get a cardboard cutout, for example, of the cart, and put a speaker behind. Maybe glue it to a bike and see how Antoine would react. There's also a digital way to test it out. We can put the cart in a game, for example, and see how people would react or what they would say. If they did what response 1 looks like, then I live to say another tada, I failed. If it's like number 2, however, then we should keep going. There might even be more reactions, and that's what we hope to get. We hope to get qualitative data. This prototype is far from perfect. What if the noise in the city overshadows the music? What if the people are annoyed from the music? What if the traffic ruins the maneuverability of the cart? What about people always being in a rush in the city and not having time to stop? There are so many unanswered questions, leaving the idea in great uncertainty. However, this is a positive start that most importantly could very likely rid Antoine of the contradictions between what he says and does, and ultimately put a smile on that croissant-loving face of his.